Don't forget to like, subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Aliens. Universe. The stars were calm. The ship was not. Jackson gripped the pilot's controls tightly as his small shuttle shook violently. Warning lights flashed red all around him. His voice was calm, but inside panic was rising. System override failed, engines offline, oxygen dropping. The robotic voice repeated again and again. A wormhole had opened unexpectedly during his hyperspace jump. His ship, the Sparrow, had been pulled in like a leaf in a storm. Now he was crashing toward an unknown planet, blue, glowing and unmarked on every chart. This isn't even in the database, Jackson whispered. The ship broke through the atmosphere. Fire streaked across the windows. A large ocean below grew closer and closer. Boom! The impact sent waves across the sea. The ship skidded and bounced before finally sinking into the warm, glowing waters. Darkness. Jackson woke up on a beach. His skin burned, his suit was torn, his head arced above him. Pink clouds floated slowly. Twin suns lit the sky with a strange, soft light. Bluebirds with long tails flew overhead, chirping melodies he had never heard. He sat up slowly. The sand was silver, the trees were tall and covered in glowing fruit. The ocean waves were calm and shimmered with strange lights. His ship, it was gone, swallowed by the sea. Jackson checked his gear, a broken scanner, half a med kit, one knife and a tiny emergency beacon. Damaged. He was alone, or so he thought. He started exploring. A stream of fresh water ran through the forest. He found strange berries that glowed faintly. He avoided them. He built a small shelter from broken metal and leaves. Each night he lit a fire. Each night he felt something watching him. The air was warm, but heavy too. Quiet. One evening while collecting fruit, he saw something in the water, just a flash shadow beneath the waves, smooth, fast and large. He stepped back slowly. Then from the water a figure rose, female shape, glowing blue skin, long hair that flowed like seaweed, eyes that shimmered like stars. She stared at him. Jackson froze. She said nothing, just looked. Then she turned and vanished back under the surface without a word. Was it real or heatstroke? Days asked. He saw her again, sometimes at a distance, sitting on a rock watching the moon. Other times swimming just beyond the shore. He started leaving food near the water lines. One morning the food was gone and a smooth white seashell was left in its place, a gift. Then came the storm. Huge waves, roaring winds, lightning that struck the sea and split the sky. Jackson's shelter blew away, trees fell. He ran for cover but slipped and fell into the rising tide. The current pulled him under. He fought, but he was too weak. Just as the water filled his lungs, he saw her again. She swam toward him like lightning. Strong arms pulled him from the current. Her skin was cool, soft, and glowing. She dragged him to land, laid him down, and pushed on his chest, coughing. Jackson spit out water and opened his eyes. She was right there, her face closed, her lips parted in worries. "You saved me," he whispered. She tilted her head. Her voice was soft, strange, musical. She said just one word, Jackson. His eyes, "Why didn't you know my name?" She touched his chest gently. "You fell from sky," she said. Slowly, broken but clear. Jackson sat up slowly. "You can speak," she nodded. "Little listen, long time." "Who are you?" he asked. She looked at the stars and said only one word: "Trapped." Jackson didn't know what this planet was. He didn't know who she was. But one thing was clear now: he wasn't alone anymore, and something very strange was happening on this beautiful, mysterious world. She wasn't just from the water, she was part of it. Jackson sat by the fire, staring at the waves as they sparkled under the twin moons. Each ripple seemed to carry her name, even though he still Didn't know it, he only knew her face, her eyes, the way she looked at him, not like a monster but like someone who had been alone too long. He remembered her voice. Trapped, what did that mean? The next morning Jackson returned to the beach with a gift, not food, not tools, a mirror, a small cracked piece of his ship's cockpit glass, cleaned and polished. He placed it gently near the shore and waited for hours. Nothing. Then when the sun dipped low and the sky turned orange, she rose. The water parted as she stepped onto the wet sand, bare feet, long, glowing hair clinging to her shoulders. She wore a dress of seaweed and shells. Her skin glimmered like moonlight on a calm lake. She saw the mirror. She picked it up, looked at her own face, and then Ozil smiled. Jackson stood slowly and placed a hand on his chest. Jackson, he said again. She pointed at him. Jackson, she repeated softly, then tapped her own chest. Naraya, that was the first time he heard her name. Naraya. They began to meet every morning. Jackson would bring small things, tools, dried fruit, ropes. He would bring strange gifts too, coral that glowed in the dark, smooth stones that hummed softly, and small blue flowers that never died. They didn't speak much, not at first, but they listened. She showed him how to whistle like the seabirds, how to swim without splashing, how to avoid the razorfish that hid under the sand, and Jackson showed her how to build shelter, how to make a fishing spear, and how to filter salt from water. Together they made something that neither had felt in years, trust. One day while gathering wood near the forest, Jackson heard a strange clicking sound like sharp claws against stone. He turned and saw it, a creature, long, thin, with black eyes and silver legs. It crept from the trees with quiet, deadly steps. It wasn't afraid, it was hunting. Jackson backed away slowly, but the creature leapt suddenly, a blur from the trees. Naraya, she slammed into the beast, spinning fast and jabbing a sharp bone blade into its neck. It shrieked once, then collapsed in the leaves. Jackson stared, breathing hard. You saved me again. Naraya looked down at the body, then at him. No safe, she said. This place not what it seems. He knelt beside her. Then what is it? She looked around as if the trees had ears, then whispered, cage. That night she took him to a hidden place, a cave deep below the tide line. Inside, glowing walls lit up with alien symbols, stories carved in stone. She pointed to one. It showed a ship like his crashing on a planet, then a dome forming above it, then figures stuck inside. Jackson's eyes widened. It's a trap. Naraya nodded. I came long ago, Phil. Like you. How long have you been here? She looked away. Many years. Jackson sat down, trying to understand the food, the beauty, the perfect air. It was never luck, it was design. This paradise wasn't a planet, it was a prison. And now he wasn't just stuck with her, he was stuck because of her. But somehow that didn't scare him, it only made him want to stay close. The water was too still, the sky too perfect, and the breeze always the same. Jackson started noticing things, small things, that didn't feel right. The sun never fully set, the stars never moved, and no matter how far he walked, the trees always looked familiar. It was like the world around him was looping, like it was watching him. One morning he woke up to find Naraya already awake, sitting on a cliff above the sea. Her back was straight, her eyes sharp, staring at something in the far sky. What are you looking at? He asked as he sat beside her. She pointed to the clouds from behind them, a soft flicker barely visible, but Jackson saw it too, a faint blue shimmer in the sky, almost like a wall. They climbed higher that day, through thick vines and over wet stone. They reached the highest point of the island. There the air buzzed faintly. Jackson threw a rock as hard as he could. It hit something invisible and bounced Back his heart sank a dome. Naraya nodded. We are inside always have been. Why would anyone do this? She looked at him. Not why. But who that night Jackson found something buried in the sand near his crash site. It was a metal panel half broken with a faded symbol, a human space agency logo, but this wasn't from his ship. It was older. He dug further and found bones, a skeleton human. He knelt beside it, chest tight, scratched into a nearby rock were desperate words. The beauty lies, don't drink the water, don't trust the silence. Jackson's hands trembled. He looked back at the sea, so calm, so clear. It had saved him once, but now he wasn't sure. The next morning he didn't go swimming. He didn't eat the glowing fruit. He didn't drink from the crystal stream. He tested everything. The fruit laced with a chemical that dulled thoughts. The water contained a microscopic organism that altered brain patterns. It's not just a trap, he told Naraya. It's a mind cage. The island makes you feel happy so you won't try to leave. Naraya looked away, ashamed. I drank for years, forgot who I was, but you're awake now, he said. She looked at him. Because of you. They started writing maps marking danger zones, nodding which plants caused memory loss. They avoided the water. They trained and they searched day after day. They circled the dome, searching for cracks, weaknesses, anything. Then on the 37th day, they found it, a waterfall, tall, roaring, hidden deep inside the mountains. Behind it, a cave. Inside the cave, a wall of ancient machinery glowing with soft alien light. Control system, Naraya whispered. Can it break the dome? Jackson asked. She nodded. Slowly, maybe, but it watches always. He looked around, then let it watch, because now they were ready to fight back. Paradise was never real, but freedom might be. That nights had changed. No more peace, no more calm waves. The jungle whispered secrets. Now the wind carried strange voices, and the stars above, they blinked like eyes. Something had awakened. Jackson barely slept. He stayed near the cave entrance, guarding the alien console they had found. If the island was a test, then this machine was the judge. He studied the symbols. Alien runes danced across the surface, glowing brighter when he touched them. They pulsed in rhythm like they were alive. Naraya sat beside him, wrapping her arms around her knees. Her wet hair dripped onto the floor. She had stopped smiling days ago. You okay? He asked quietly. She didn't answer. She was staring at the machine, lost in thought. That evening, something strange happened. A deep hum rolled through the island. It made the trees sway and the sand rise. The sea boiled quietly in the distance. Then the console lit up and projected a shimmering hologram into the air. Images of Jackson and Naraya eating, swimming, laughing, fighting. Every moment they shared was being watched, recorded, measured. Jackson stood slowly. It's judging us, Naraya whispered. Not just us. Our choices, our feelings. They looked at each other. Then the hologram faded and something new appeared. A warning and alien script. Primary phase complete. Emotional pairing achieved. Final trial approaching. What does that mean? Jackson asked. Naraya's face went pale. It means they think we're bonded. Later that night the rain came, but not the soft tropical kind. It was black rain, thick and sticky. It smelled like metal and burned the skin. Jackson and Naraya ran to shelter under an old stone arch near the beach. Lightning flashed across the sky in bright red bolts. Naraya leaned into him, shivering. This is not natural. Jackson looked out at the storm. They're testing our limits. How do we win? She asked. He looked into her glowing eyes. By not breaking the storm. Passed by morning, but something had changed. Jackson woke to find Naya sitting close, tracing shapes in the sand with her finger. Jackson, she said softly, "Why do you care so much?" He looked at her, surprised because you were alone because I was too and now we're not. She smiled. Sadly, I don't remember my family, my world, my past, but I remember you. He gently took her hand. Then let's remember each other. That's enough. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and for the first time in years, maybe ever, she felt safe. That night the stars danced in the sky, not spinning, not blinking, but moving, forming strange patterns like a countdown. The jungle went silent. The waves pulled back unnaturally far. Jackson whispered, "Something's coming." And Naya replied, "The trial." They stood together in the cave facing the console. The hologram glowed again, this time displaying a question. Choose one, leaves one, stays, or both remain forever. Jackson looked at her. It's offering a way out, but only force one of us, she said, her voice shaking. They stared at each other. No one moved. They could have chosen, but they didn't. They reached for each other's hands instead, and in that moment the machine glitched. The lights flickered, the air crackled. Something inside the system broke because it had asked them to choose between survival and love, and they chose both together. The ground trembled just once, not an earthquake, a signal. Jackson and Naraya stood outside the cave as a pulse of blue light shot into the sky from the alien console. The island responded instantly. Birds fled. Waves turned wild. The trees leaned as if something ancient had awakened beneath the soil. Naraya whispered, "It's starting." Jackson looked up. The stars were gone, replaced by a glowing symbol. In the sky, a perfect circle broken by a single line. "The trial," he said, "the last one." Suddenly the beach split. A giant wall of water rose between them, cutting the island in half. Jackson and Naraya were thrown apart, pulled into separate paths. He shouted her name, but the storm swallowed it. She was gone, and he was alone again. Jackson landed hard in a jungle pit, filled with vines and old tech ruins. As he stood, blue drones flew overhead. Their red eyes scanned him. Then a voice, cold, mechanical, echoed in his head, "Humans survive, do not fail." The forest around him turned into a maze. Metal walls rose. Trees reshaped themselves. He ran. Blades shot from trees. Holes opened beneath his feet. His own face appeared on screens. Moments of fear, weakness, doubt, but he kept going. Wounded, tired, bleeding, but moving because he had to reach her. Naraya's trial was different. She was pulled into a memory, a perfect illusion of her past life, her home, her people. A clear sky, laughter, a voice called to her. "Come back, child, leave the human. Your place is here." She turned. Her mother, her father, her old world. It was all fake, but it felt so real. Tears filled her eyes. But then she heard something, a whisper. "Don't forget me." Jackson's voice, it echoed inside her like thunder. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and said, "I choose him." The illusion shattered and she fell into light. At the center of the island, a new structure rose. The trial gate, a giant stone ring, nodded. "But where do we go now?" She smiled softly. "Anywhere, as long as we go together." And as they stepped onto the ship, the island behind them began to sink, returning to silence, waiting for the next ones to be tested. But it had made a mistake this time. It tried to measure love, and love cannot be measured. The ship didn't fly, it waited. As Jackson and Naraya stepped inside the glowing craft, the doors closed behind them with a soft hiss. The walls shimmered like liquid crystal. Strange blue lights pulsed along the floor, not leading out but deeper, glowing with alien symbols, humming with ancient power. Jackson and Naraya reached it at the same time, limping, tired, soaked in mud and blood, but together they looked at each other and neither said a word. They didn't need to. They stepped Into the gate side by side and the island spoke trial passed bond accepted. Program broken a deep rumble shook the land the dome above shattered like glass. For the first time real sunlight hit. Their skin the sky opened a strange. Craft descended half organic half. Machine it glowed with the same blue. Light as the console they looked up as. It landed near them Naraya touched. Jackson's hand where. Avray. Inside Jackson touched the wall where. Are the controls Naraya didn't answer she was. Already starring ahead a voice echoed. From the air calm and ancient choice required the lights. Changed one path glowing green one. Glowing red two options two fates the. Ship showed them both in the red path A. Map of the galaxy a hyperspace route. Back to human space freedom. Civilization a return to everything. Jackson once knew in the green path A. Map of the island but larger hiddens. Ecosystems deep power chambers and ancient technologies no one had ever touched. The island was not just a prison. It was a seed a new beginning then came. The hardest part only one may leave only. One may stay or both remain. Jackson looked at Naraya. Do they think we'd leave each other behind? He asked softly. She looked away. Her voice was quiet. I always thought if I ever had a chance to go home I'd take it without thinking and now she stepped closer to him. Now you are home. The ship pulsed again. The countdown had begun. They had minutes to decide. Jackson walked toward the red path. He stopped inches away behind him. Naraya waited. You could go, he said. Without turning. You deserve freedom. You've been here longer than me. Naraya shook her head. You gave me more freedom than any gate or ship ever could. She stepped forward, joined him at the split, and reached for his hand. No matter where we are, she said, it only matters if we're together. The ship's lights dimmed. Then something happened. The two paths merged. The red and green forming a new golden path. The voice returned, but this time it sounded different, almost pleased. Unmeasurable outcome protocol. Rewritten. You did not choose escape. You chose each other. The ship shuddered as walls transformed. A new chamber opened, filled with tools, seeds, machines, and supplies not for travel, for building. Jackson realized the truth. This wasn't a prison, he whispered. It was a test for settlers. Naraya smiled. A test. We passed. They left the ship as the twin suns rose, stepping onto the untouched land beyond the now shattered dome. This island had changed. Trees bloomed with colors never seen before. Waterfalls fell from floating rocks. Life was returning, not artificial, real, and this time the paradise was truly theirs. No walls, no watchers, no limits. They didn't escape. They stayed, not as prisoners but as the first humans and aliens to rewrite a forgotten world. Together they had no map, no orders, no voices from above, just each other and the whole planet to begins. Again weeks passed. The jungle no longer felt like a trap. The skies were open. Free. The sea sang with a softer voice. Now no longer watching, only welcoming. Jackson and Naraya worked side by side, building a new shelter with tools from the alien ship. Solar panels, hydro filters, seed banks, everything they needed had been given to them, but more important than tools was trust. More important than power was love, and more valuable than freedom was the bond that survived the test. One night Naraya stood alone at the hilltop above her. The stars had returned, but they were different. New constellations, shifting colors, almost like the sky itself had been rewritten. Jackson joined her, holding a small lantern. You see it too, she nodded. It's like the sky is listening now. He smiled. Maybe it is. Maybe we changed more than just this place. She turned to him. Do you regret staying? Jackson didn't hesitate, not for a second. That night they placed a carved stone by the beach. It was simple, no names, no titles, just one sentence: we chose each other. Years later ships would come, explorers, scientists, lost travelers. Some would crash, others would arrive by design, and When they did, they'd find signs, paths, marked with glowing stones, messages, carved into trees, trails that led not to cages but to safety, because two souls had already passed the test and they made sure no one else had to suffer like they did. Jackson became a builder of homes. Naya became the voice of peace. Between species, together they became the story whispered across galaxies about a paradise once meant to trap, now turned into hope. And above that island, in a sky no longer controlled by machines, two stars burned side by side, bright, wild, and free.